Welcome to This Organized Life. If you're a mom, wife, or coffee lover seeking advice on how to reduce clutter and reclaim time, look no further than your host, Lori Palau, founder of Simply Be Organized and author of Hot Mess, a practical guide to getting organized. For a lot of people, clutter is their dirty little secret, but it doesn't have to be. Each week, we will share practical tips, chat with experts, and provide strategies on how to keep you organized. I hope that by sharing our stories, you feel a little less alone and more empowered to tackle the areas that are holding you back. So let's get started.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of This Organized Life podcast. I'm your host, Lori Palau, and you guys, we got a good topic today. I am so excited, and we're going to be joined by my friend, Kate. So one of the things that I get asked about a lot is my opinion on storage units. Obviously, if you talk to the majority of professional organizers, they will probably share a similar sentiment about we don't want you to pay for storage, especially of stuff that you might not need, use, or want. And I was having this conversation offline with my good friend, Kate Bosch from Kate Bosch Organizing. And she's been on the show before, so you're probably familiar with her if you're a longtime listener. And she had a confession about a storage unit in her life. I said, wait, we're putting a pause on this conversation, and I want you to come out and talk to our listeners about this. So if you are somebody that either has a storage unit, or maybe you have a parent who has a storage unit, or you're thinking about, do I want to get one, weighing the pros and cons, this is the episode for you. So without further ado, let me welcome my good friend, Kate, back to the show.
Hey, Lori. Thanks.
Hello.
Yes, I do have a confession.
Big confession. So before, just real top line, in
Yeah.
case we've got some new people who aren't familiar with you, just give like a little 10,000 foot overview about you and your business.
Okay, so I'm based in Providence, Rhode Island, and I've been in business for almost, I think, 8 years. So good long time. And I help people organize their homes, strictly residential organizing and helping people declutter and all kinds of projects. I love the variety and all different households, all different projects.
Yeah,
That's
Kate's awesome. So literally shout out if anybody is listening that lives in the Providence, Rhode Island area, like you definitely hit her up for sure.
Yeah, thanks. Or like, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island's teeny tiny. So I go,
Yes, in that area,
kind of all over, and I do virtual organizing too. So I can
yeah,
help people anywhere.
and we'll give all those shout outs later, but I want to talk about storage units because we got on this tangent talking about that like a couple weeks ago, and you were like, that Doug has a storage unit.
Yes.
And I said, what? Doug is her husband.
Yes.
So why don't you give your little confessional, and we can kind of talk about how this
Yeah.
works out.
So my husband's an artist, so creative type, they're not always practical. He's a professor also. And yeah, so I want to say like several years ago, actually, he had a bunch of large work. He does sculptures, so some of his work is large. His studio space is our garage has been converted into that. So 2-car garage converted into studio. He had a bunch of big pieces in a show, and they were coming back from that show, and he was already creating the next body of work for another show. So he's like, I'm just going to rent a storage unit to stick this work in so it doesn't clutter up my studio, because I have to still keep working on this new stuff. I'm going to put it there, and surely I'm going to get more shows for this. It's going to go to another show, then I'll close out the storage unit. No big deal. So like several years later, right? And then in the midst of that, like shows didn't really materialize. The art market kind of dipped, and then COVID killed it, and nobody's going to shows and things. And like his stuff is still in the storage unit. And every now and then I sort of gently like, hey, how about your storage unit? Like, you think, he's like, I don't want to talk about it. I have to have it. I need it. Anyway, finally this year, he was like, okay, I need to clean it out. But it was just, it's just one of those things that snowballs. And so all that to say, like, my family is no different than my clients. Like, we all get overwhelmed, busy, whatever, think that this is going to be the solution. And we think it's temporary, the storage unit, and they're rarely as temporary as we think they're going to be,
Sure.
you know? So yeah, he finally let me clean it out for him or help him clean it out.
So is it
But
gone? So is
it's
it?
gone.
It's-
Yeah. In what? Yeah. January, he was like, this month I can do it. Cause he teaches college. So he doesn't start back until mid-January. So we're like, yeah, let's just get it done.
So let
So
me
we
ask
did.
you before we go into like the broader topic of storage units in your case. So what did he do? Did everything come back into your house? Did he donate?
So
stuff
it's
that was in
again,
there?
very typical of most storage units, right? Like probably at least 50% of it was trash at this point. It was just trash, stuff he didn't want. There was one like big flat file, which I'm like, take some pictures, take some measurements. I'll list it on Facebook Marketplace. Someone came and picked it up. You know, that was like worth $100, you know, but everything else, like most of the stuff was trash. A few pieces came back to his studio, and some pieces he wanted to put in. My family has a house in Connecticut that he wanted. They're larger pieces, and they could he wants to display them there.
Accommodate.
So
Yeah, they could
yeah,
accommodate.
so like, but basically most of it was not stuff that he wanted ever again. So that was my point earlier, was like, if you don't actually want this stuff, why are we paying to continue to own it?
Well, and that's exactly it. So you love data like I do. You're a data nerd like myself.
Yes.
And so just real funny people. So I said to Kate, hey, when we're prepping for this call, like, just let me know anything you want to talk about. So she sent me like all of these incredible statistics. And I was like, oh, I cannot wait for you to, go through them, because I think for some people it seems so abstract. But when you sit there
Right.
and look at these numbers, it really like gives you pause. So why don't you just kind of run through some of the really big stats
Yeah.
that stood out to me?
Right. Well, the first one is like, how many storage facilities are there in the US? And I feel like, I don't know about your area, but like I'm driving on the highway and there's like a new one popping up like every couple of months. Like, how come people need so much storage? So that's what prompted me to look this one up. And there are actually more storage facilities, not the individual units, the whole facilities, more storage facilities in the US than McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts combined. So there are
Just
over
insane.
51,000. Like, yeah, think how many times you're driving and you pass a McDonald's or a Dunkin'. There are more storage unit facilities, 51,000 storage facilities in the US.
So
So
literally, and I know it's not an even split, but that's basically like 1,000 storage units per state. You know what I mean? Again, if you think about
yeah,
it,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is insane.
Mm-hmm.
What
Yep.
about and like what about the revenue that's associated with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's an enormous industry. It's an industry that I believe didn't really exist in the US prior to the 60s, but it's huge and it's growing. So right now, I think the market size is estimated at like 58 billion, and it's expected to reach over 72 billion by the end of this decade. $1 billion. And so
Which is
we're just pouring money into storing stuff that we don't really want.
and just because you have recently had your own personal experience, I know you can rent them sort of inexpensively, right? Which is part of the draw ish, right?
It varies by area a lot.
Okay.
So one thing I noticed is like, even in my little area, so Providence is a college town, you rent near the colleges, it's expensive. You rent a little bit in the suburbs, it's a little less. So
Yeah,
you
because
definitely have to shop around.
I remember when Zoe first went to Clemson,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like that freshman to sophomore year, which also was the big COVID year.
Yeah.
And she was going to be moving to an apartment, and we were like, okay, we're not going to come bring all your stuff. So we rented a storage unit for the summer. You were able to rent it. So she was able to store
Right.
like a bed and dresser and all that kind of stuff. And I was okay with that because it was very specific. It was
Yeah.
really a short-term rental. And I knew the stuff I was like, you're not going to leave anything in there because again, You don't know if stuff gets
It was time
damaged.
limited, really specific purpose, really
And it
specific
was
as to what
fine.
is going in there, right? So
Yes.
it's not like just, oh, I don't know what to do with all this. We'll just stick it there. It was really targeted.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that I was like, okay with. But
Totally.
other than that, but I know that a lot of times people will just do the, like, create these storage, get a storage unit, whether they are inheriting stuff or like in
Yes.
your case, well, I've got this overflow things, this what if, I'll get to it, and then life happens. And then
Right.
the next thing you know, you're 5, 6 years down the road.
Right. Right. And so I guess across the US, like the average storage unit cost is about 140 per month.
Okay.
So
100.
140 bucks a month.
So you're going over $1,000 a year. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
So
you're going over $1,500 a year.
yeah.
And
Which-
you're like and I think it was that like most people rent storage units for an average of like the average rental term
yeah.
that people do is like 14 months. So that's almost $2,000,
Right.
which is like, that's a little vacation. That's what can you do with $2,000 instead of storing stuff that you don't want? You know, if you're renting it for 5 years, that's like $5,000.
Yeah. That is,
And when you get
absolutely.
longer than that, you're in the tens of thousands of dollars.
And I'm
So
wondering, in your research, did you find like what was the most like common thing? Like, are most people storing like, I'm cleaning out my so and so's house, and so I'm putting furniture in there? Like, obviously,
yeah,
like Doug was very specific with his sculptures.
yeah, not everyone has sculptures to put in, but furniture is the most common thing. And I think you know from being an organizer, like furniture is one of the most common things to store in a storage unit because it's bulky. You probably don't have room. Like you have room to store a box of photos in your house. You maybe don't have room to store, grandma's dinette set. But also like from our work with clients, like furniture is not generally valuable. I mean, if it's mint condition, mid-century modern, that has a market now. If it's, I mean, anything else, like good luck getting someone to take it off your hands. So you're paying money to store something that's really not of value, and that is replaceable generally.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked a lot on the show, and I know you're familiar with it, but we talk about, like those 5 clutter pitfalls of
Yeah.
procrastination and indecision and guilt and overwhelm and all of those things, where I think a lot of times people, especially if you are, and I'm just thinking of our generation, right? We're like these Gen Xers who are in that, sandwich generation, and people a lot of times are still inheriting. We're coming off of the heels of the older generation that passed down a lot of the furniture and the china
Yeah.
and all those things, where I don't know, I'm curious to know your opinion, but I feel like we're going to see less of that as generations go on. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But
I hope so.
I
Yeah. I
hope
mean,
so.
the younger generations are a little more, I mean, I think that they have like sentimental attachment to certain things that connect them with other people, but I don't think they have it quite as much about like, the large furniture and stuff like that. They don't find that much value in it. So
Yeah, I mean, at least I don't think my kids are going to be like, oh, I really want your, dining room
sofa.
set, or right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no.
Yeah. They're not going to want that. But because, we are in that generation, we oftentimes are like, I'm struggling with clutter in my own home. I can't bring in somebody else's clutter.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to pay to have it not see it. And then before you know it, it's adding up money. And then I'm wondering also about, is the stuff even viable when people go to get it? Because I know I've seen people store things in garages and attics and other places
Yeah.
of the home, and then they get moldy or critters
Yeah.
set up
Right.
shop.
So that's why people are like, oh, well, it's a climate controlled storage. So I had to dig into that. I'm like, oh, okay, climate controlled. That sounds expensive, right? But then what I found out is climate controlled means that it has a roof and it has some heat. Maybe it has air conditioning, maybe not, depending on where you are. But doesn't mean that it's not hermetically sealed. It's not like humidity controlled. It's not, I mean, and if you go to any storage facility, you'll see really big rodent traps all over. And in fact, there was a dead rodent in my husband's storage unit.
Oh, I believe it.
So,
Oh, I
like,
totally believe that.
It's not critter proof. It's not mold proof. I've seen lots of moldy stuff come out of storage units, certainly dust,
Mhm.
like you wouldn't believe. It's not necessarily it's not preserved. It's not like you're putting it in that storage facility and it's going to come out fresh and ready to use. It's like,
Which is
you know,
something to think about, people, if you're storing any type of a memorabilia keepsake, like photographs, right?
right.
If you're storing stuff like that you do really want for, to pass down, and that climate, like that, even if it says, like you said, air quote, climate control, all those extreme temperatures will wreak havoc on
Yeah,
newspapers, memorabilia, photos, all of that
right.
stuff.
So think about it like you're basically putting it in a garage. Like it's basically a
Yes.
garage. And the other thing is not only those kind of special memorabilia, but anything permeable like fabric, any upholstered furniture, any clothing, anything like that is going to absorb any odors from the air. And it's also, subject to moths and critters and, just the temperature, humidity problems and stuff. So it's not really going to store and be fresh and ready for you to use when you're done,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Do you remember the show Storage Wars?
I love that show. Of course.
We were obsessed. So for anybody that does not remember the show Storage Wars, it was basically like a
I think it's
reality
still
show.
on. Is
Is
it still
it?
on?
Is it still on?
Maybe
Probably
just
is.
with streaming, everything is still
Oh,
on.
that's true. Well, it was on when my kids were younger. We used to watch it.
Yeah.
And I guess when it first came out, I should say. And there were like these couples, and they would go into these abandoned storage units, and they all had like resale businesses. And what they were like, they would like open the storage unit, you would run in and grab what you wanted, and then see what the value would be. And every now and again, they would come across some, like, I don't know, Mickey Mantle collectible thing that was, or something that was like could be sold on Antiques Roadshow. But most of the time it wasn't anything like
Most
that.
of the time it was a bunch of junk.
It
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
But
And is that the one where like, I'm thinking of the one where they'd auction the unit too. So they don't exactly know what's
oh,
in the unit,
yes, they did.
right?
Sorry, I totally
So
forgot
they
that.
like open it up,
Yes,
they
you're
get to
so
peek,
right.
and then they
Yes,
have to
that's
bid
exactly
on it based on what they think they saw in there that might be worth something. And then they
Yes.
end up, it's like, no, it's just junk
Yes.
half the time. And they try to figure out if they can recoup their money.
Yes.
I mean,
so right. I
but
completely
basically
forgot
like,
that. Yeah.
and even when they strike it rich, we're talking like low thousands. We're not talking like, right? So generally these
So,
things aren't, people aren't storing major valuables in a storage unit facility. You would be foolish to do so.
so in your research, did you, like, I wonder how many people, because you gave the statistics of how many there are and how much
Look.
money we're spending. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
This isn't a test that you're
It's
going
not
to
a
give
quiz.
on.
I have my cheat
No,
sheet.
it's an open,
Yeah.
it's an open note. It's an open note quiz.
Thank you.
What, how many of these storage units are actually abandoned? Like, does it say?
Yeah, I did find that out. So like every single year,
Okay.
over 150,000 are auctioned off,
Oh my
abandoned.
gosh. I wonder what
So,
determines it being abandoned.
I mean, I think that it, when you sign a contract with the storage facility, it's a contract, just like a rental contract. So I think if you
Oh.
haven't paid per the contract, whatever it is, certain number of months, if you're in arrears, then
Oh,
they take
gotcha.
possession and they
Yes.
can auction it off.
Gotcha.
So
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
that's
sense.
my guess. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
actually
yeah. That
research
makes
that,
sense.
but
I'll
you do
go with
sign a
that.
contract. You do
Yeah.
sign, yeah.
I gotcha.
So anyway, so that sub industry alone
Yeah.
is 65 million a year. So that's about like, what is that, a tenth of a billion of the 65 billion or whatever?
65
But
million
like
in
65 million
abandoned
in just
storage
the
units.
abandoned units. Yeah. And
That is
so then the others like dig into the statistic with that is I think the average auction for those, so those storage wars auctions, the average storage unit auctions off for $425 for the unit.
for the
So
whole unit.
For the whole unit, yeah. So you
Right, that's what I'm
abandon
saying,
your
like,
unit and
right.
they auction it off. They're going to get on average like $425. So for all the stuff that you stored in there,
I feel
but
like
you're
I
paying,
feel like
but
we're
you
in the
have to
wrong
pay.
business. I feel like we need to be
Right.
in the storage business because these people are making, no, I'm just kidding. But
Yeah,
like,
no.
these people are making money off of renting these spaces for other people's junk. Then people are abandoning it. And then somebody else is paying to clean it out. Like, that's
Yeah,
a pretty good deal.
it's a pretty good deal. But they've also lost money for all the months that they could have been renting it and the person wasn't paying. So,
Right. Like,
and they've
right.
got
Like,
high overhead with, but whatever,
yes. Yes.
still like, but think about it. Like, so you're paying like over $1,500 to store that stuff for a year. All that stuff you were storing is only worth maximum $425. Why are you paying 1,500, like 3 times what it's worth to
Right.
somebody else to store it?
Well, I think for a lot of people, again, there's exceptions to the rule from the practicality standpoint. And we will talk about
Yeah, of
there
course.
when is it appropriate, right? But I think it goes back to that emotional clutter, right? I think it
Yeah.
goes back to that period of indecision. I don't know. I feel badly, I feel guilty,
Hmm.
and or I'm just feeling overwhelmed, and so I'm going to
Right.
put it off, and that procrastination, and it seems like a temporary hold. It's like I'm just going to put it over here, and then it's out of sight, out of mind, and life goes on.
Right.
And
And
while it's going on,
most of the people, like most of the storage facilities have you on automatic billing. So you don't even see the
right?
bill. So you're just, it's just getting taken out and you kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I actually have a client recently. I'm helping him clean out his storage units. His mother had 2 and she passed away. Um, and he had 4 himself. And I know, and we got him down to, he's now down to 3 and we're going to get him down to 1. But like, it's huge. And he's realized that, it's gonna cost him a bit up front to work with someone who can help him get out of it. But it is all that emotional stuff. It's like the feeling of like, this was all this stuff that mom couldn't deal with emotionally. And now I can't deal with it emotionally. I need someone to help me with that. And
Mhm.
then like, you know, trying to get out of all that is hard.
Yeah. And then you have the logistics, right? Whether you're hiring a professional or you're enlisting a friend, more often than not, it's not a one-man job. You
No,
are
not at all. Not at all. I mean, for that, just to get him out of the 3 into 1, he's got a separate facility for the other 2, but 3 into 1, I had to contact some consignment shops. Nobody wanted any of the furniture. So then I contact a thrift store. He's like, yeah, I'll pay cash for some of it. We're talking a couple $100 for some furniture. And then figuring out, people don't want to just throw out their stuff. Okay, donation resource. And then figure out like, what are you going to bring back to your home? What are you going to, now we need a hauler to get, junk hauler to get the stuff out. Cause that's a lot of heavy lifting, and it
yeah.
took a couple hours and consolidate back. So it is a big coordination effort and it requires usually time off work and yeah, a lot of effort
Yeah.
for
And I
stuff that
think
you
for a
didn't
lot of
really
people,
want.
and it's taking that long, hard look in the mirror for people. And they're not, and I'm not saying this, and I know you're not saying that there should be shame, but then people start
No.
to, a lot of times people will start to beat themselves up. I mean, we see this with people in their homes when they're like finally
Yeah.
looking in the mirror at their stuff and they're like, how did I let it get to this point? And then they go down this shame spiral. And I can see that again when you finally are like, okay, I have to do something about this. It's even just getting past that to say, okay, I'm going to stand up straight and we're going to put together a plan and we're going to get ourselves out of this. Like that's
Yeah.
harder. That like
It is, it's really hard. And I feel like that's where professional organizers, like not to just promote us, but that's where we are, I think, really good at reframing the situation and say like, look, there's no shame in this. I see all kinds of people, all kinds of situations, all kinds of things. We're in these situations for all kinds of reasons. And that's fine. And let's
yeah.
not like worry about the mountain that's in the past. We're just going to start fresh from today on and do better now. And It doesn't matter. Let's focus on how light you feel getting rid of that storage unit, how light your wallet is now. You know, your bank account's going to be better. Everything's going to, it's going to get better now. What's done, what's past is past. You can't, you know, there
Right.
were lots of reasons why you did that. And, you know, you're not going to overcome that by dwelling on it. Just let's move on.
Absolutely. I love it. All right, let's just switch gears and talk about when would it be appropriate? I know we talked about like like the college if you are kind of in
Yeah.
that transient thing, but there are a few like scenarios where I feel like, hey, these things do come in handy.
Yeah. I think that, the college one points out, like when you're in a move situation, sometimes it is appropriate to rent a storage unit for a little while. Like maybe you're, you know, there's always that domino thing when you're moving, right? Like of like, oh, we closed on this house and we have to close on that
Yes.
house. We have to move.
Yes.
We have to stage this one. We have to do. So like if your realtor says, look, you got to get all this, a bunch of junk out of here so that we can stage this house so we can sell it for top dollar. So to rent temporarily a storage unit for, you know, few $100s in order to make thousands more on your home, like just financially, that makes sense. And you have to truly get it in your head that this is temporary, to the point where even like as an organizer, I tell people like, we're going to set a series of reminders in your phone or
I was just
something
going to
and
say
on
that
your
I would put it
calendar.
like on my calendar. That's exactly what I
Literally,
do.
like this is the day when you're done with your storage unit. Like, do you want me to put it on my calendar so that I know too and I can hold you accountable? I'll do that.
Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure.
Yeah. So that's appropriate. Like, so if you're staging your house, if you're moving and your house isn't ready and you're needing, you know, if you just need that little wiggle room of a place to hold your stuff before it's going to get to the new house, or, you know, that sort of temporary amount of time. I have a friend whose father is in a like construction type profession.
Okay.
And so obviously like he's got big equipment and things, and you know, some of it's like dirty-ish equipment. You know, he can't store that at his house. Like most houses can't accommodate big types of things like that.
Sure.
So his option is either rent commercial space which is expensive,
Sure.
or rent a storage unit, and he can just go to the storage unit, get the equipment he needs for the job that day and go off on his job. So obviously for him, a storage unit is more cost effective.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that makes perfect sense. Or even
Absolutely.
a thing like my husband's original idea of the storage unit made sense because he was going to store it there so that he could continue working in his space, and then it was going to leave to go to another show. It made sense. It's that when the thing didn't happen to leave, he needed to have a plan B in place of like, I'm not just going to
Right.
have it for the next few years. Yeah.
Exactly. I think you hit the nail right on the head. And I think that happens with a lot of things, right? Not just storage
Mhm.
units. Like we all make decisions, hopefully with the best of intentions. And then
Yeah.
for whatever reason, things go sideways or not as according to plan. And then we need to pivot. And that's okay because that's part of life. And this was a perfect example of like, again, it would have been ideal if you would have been like, okay, this isn't happening. Let's have a plan of when we're going to
Yeah.
get rid of this as opposed to dragging it out to the point where, you felt like it was.
Right. And you have to be willing to have, I think an accountability partner is helpful, and someone who you're willing to take advice from
Yeah,
for
I
that,
love that.
and say like, even if it's a friend or I don't know, even your kids, like, hey, you know, you're good at tech. Remind me in 3 months that I got to get rid of this. And
Yeah.
for someone that you'll listen to
Yeah.
keep you accountable.
I think it's great. Yeah, I love the reminders. I think that's a great actionable tip that anybody can do to put that on their calendar, on their phone, whatever that looks like.
Oh yeah. I live by talking to my phone. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, phone, remind me tomorrow to do this, or remind me when I get home to do that, or remind me remind me in 3 months to look at this again.
Exactly. Yes, I think it is. And even if it's like, let's revisit this. Let's
Yeah.
revisit this and see where we are. What is the state of things? Oh, I think there is something that's going to be coming up. We're going to hold on to it. Or I think we're going to do a big estate sale, or we're going to, whatever it looks like.
Right. Well, and maybe it means like, okay, in 2 months, I'm going to go back to the storage unit and look at everything there. So it doesn't sit for 2 years, sit for 2 months and look at it again with fresh eyes. And you're like, I haven't missed any of this for 2 months. Like, yeah, I guess I could, let go of some of this.
Yeah, no, I love it. Before we wrap up, are there any other, I mean, you've really touched on so many things, but did I leave anything out? Like, is there anything else that you feel like you
I mean, I
want to
think
add?
the one other thing about the storage unit, like if you are going to do it, make it super convenient, like as convenient as you can. Like do your research and find a place that is like on your regular route. You don't want something that you have to drive to and you're like, oh, it's a pain, I don't want to go there. And then you'll never see your stuff again. You want it to be the most convenient location. Like it needs to be near the elevator, near the, or like opens right out and you park your car right in front of it or whatever the most convenient for you is. Like find it
Yeah.
and do that. Or maybe it's that you want a pod to come to you and then they take it away. Or certain ones, I know a mover in my area they have storage where they'll pack it, they'll store it, they inventory it, and you can ask for things for pieces back from it, which is a great way to do it. Yeah. So I had a client who did that. She would say, oh, I want this chair back and you can take that chair back. And so they would just,
That you have to assume that everyone knows what's in their storage unit. I would venture a guess that a lot of people put stuff in their storage unit and they don't even know what's in there.
oh, most people, and that's a DIY one. This mover offers like a do it for you service where they pack the storage and stuff.
Yeah.
So there are like luxury options like that, but
Right.
again, that's not for everyone. But yeah, just make it as convenient as possible. Because if it's a pain, then it's more likely that you're just going to leave the stuff there and not deal with it.
I love it. That's such great advice. Cause I can imagine also there are people, again, I keep going back to the image of like aging parents or something.
Yeah.
And if you don't live in the same town or city or even state, I could see people out of convenience going, I'll just get a storage unit close to where my parents lived versus where I live. And then it's again another obstacle to go and get the stuff or just deal with what's there.
Exactly. Yeah. It should be close to where whoever's going to have to deal with this stuff is.
Absolutely. I love it. Kate, before we do our last wrap up questions, tell everybody again, where can they find you, connect up with you and learn more?
So the best way is my website, katebosch.org. And I'm on Instagram, Facebook, all the things on Kate Bosch Organizing. So they can find me there.
I am going to say also, because Kate's also one of our SBO partners. She's been one of our partners for a long time. And I get her monthly newsletters and she's always got such really great, relevant, practical and actionable advice. So I'm not a fan of like digital clutter and adding more stuff to your inbox, but honestly, I've told you that
only once a month.
offline.
It's not like I'm not going to spam you all the time.
No. But really, guys, she talks to great people. She interviews great people and a lot of really good tips. So check out her. You can opt on her website. So that's my little public service announcement for you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back and do our wrap up questions, which you are no stranger to. So sit tight.
Thank you.
All right, Kate, I know you're a reader. We've talked about this before. I don't even remember what you say because we've had you on before, but what are you reading these days? Tell us, like, what's...
Well, I just finished up a fun one. So you know me, I like everybody else is like the self-help book, the organizing book or whatever, but I love reading fiction. And so I'm going to give you some fiction things. I think my favorite from last year was Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. And if you're like at all a science nerd, he was the one who wrote The Martian, which was made into a movie. It was awesome. And so this one was really good. I thought it was really fun. It's set in outer space. Hey, it's not sci-fi. It's like more science than fiction, but it was pretty fun. But I just read a fun book by Simon Brett, who's a British mystery writer. And he's written a lot of, like, some of his things have become like, British television series and stuff. So like kind of the cozy British mystery genre. But he has the first one in his decluttering mysteries. So it's called The Clutter Corpse. And the sleuth is a professional organizer or declutterer, as they often call them in the UK. And So that was pretty fun.
That is okay. Now
It's cute.
you know my whole thing about British accents, right? Do you know this?
Yeah, you're not a fan.
Not a fan.
So you're not
I
gonna have watched any of those
listen,
shows.
I am not trying to be mean or discriminatory against any of our British
So I'm
speaking.
like the opposite. I love accents of all kind. I love regional accents. I love that stuff.
Psycho. I can't explain why. And I pick and shoot, but there's
Some
now,
British
as soon as
person
you
was
said
mean
that,
to you
I'm
when you
like,
were a child.
I don't know. There must be something there. I need to do like some EMDR or something about it because I love British people. I love London. I love England.
Well,
I
you
love,
could just read it and pretend they're all American
I know it's,
or
but
something.
yes, now, because I want to, all right, I have to look into it. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, you're super organized. I'm looking at your Kate also, and one of her many talents is, and she used to be a hat maker, a milliner, right? Did I say it right? Did I say that
Yeah,
properly?
milliner.
Milliner.
Yep.
So she's got right behind her. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see
yes,
she's
all
got
my-
this built in with all of her sewing. She's in her sewing room right now. She's got all these labeled bins. Super cute. Where are you feeling like the most organized these days, and where are you feeling like you're a little out of whack in the organizing realm?
I mean, I think I feel like it's the same answer every time. Like, no, I'm the most organized like this time of year. So it's winter here, and I get this like urge to get rid of stuff every winter. It happens like same time every year. I don't know, clockwork. And so I feel pretty good about that. Like I just love to go through and get rid of more stuff. And see if what else I can streamline. So that's good. And it's always my like, I think I like a little bit of a crazy schedule and to be busy. I like
Yeah.
being busy. I like doing doing all the things. So that's where I'm a bit of a hot mess is
Yeah.
schedule, but it's okay.
But it's all in moderation. I know, but I'm the same way. I can relate to it. I sit here and as I preach about building margin in your life and
Yeah.
and I look at my own schedule, I'm like, might need to take a page out of my own book, but
It's always like, I feel like, it's always like I do a little better and then I fall back and then I get a little better and yeah.
we're
But
all
being a
work in
reader is where
progress.
I helped build margin in because I realized like, oh, if I leave a little early, then I might have time to do a little reading while I'm waiting. So bring a book.
I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
Kate, thanks as always for coming on the show. You make it so easy
Thank
and
you.
fun. And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Make sure to click the subscribe, follow button. We really appreciate it. And until next week, I'm Lori Plow. Peace out. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please spread the love and share it with your friends. And if this is your first time joining us, make sure to click the subscribe button wherever you are listening so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, please leave us a review so other people know that our show is worth the listen. You can also find us on YouTube and Instagram at This Organized Life Podcast. And if you'd like to connect with us, you can head on over to our website at simply the letter B like boy organized.com, which is filled with tons of resources, including free downloads, checklists, links to our amazing organizing partners, and all of our digital offerings. I'll see you next week for another episode of This Organized Life.